few days ago, Playtonic began getting a lot of hate from a lot of their backers. To an outsider, it might not be clear exactly why, and some are even pushing a false, revisionist narrative. But what caused this, and why are people actually upset? As a backer, I'd like to look into this scenario and clear some things up. The controversy in part starts with JonTron, a prominent and early YouTube personality, who was one of the first successes on the platform, as well as a huge fan of Banjo-Kazooie and Rare. When the Golden Era Rare team split from Microsoft and Rare proper, they announced they would be kickstarting a spiritual successor he donated a large sum of money to. In exchange, Playtonic created the Be in the Game pledge tier, and he became one of a handful of backers to voice a character. Early this year, he was baited into debating a far-left streamer, and made a number of racist statements extremely heavily implying, but not explicitly saying, that black crime is genetic. Following the debate, he stated that he didn't really mean those statements and just said them in the heat of the moment. There's evidence this may actually be the case, although it doesn't excuse him saying what he said. The streamer's argument style is one heavily focused on intimidating and subtly leading his opponent into making easy-to-counter statements. It's a common tactic far-left and far-right pundits use, and in this clip, John laughs before making this ridiculous statement.
The crime rates are pretty consistent across Africa too.
We're not talking about Africa. We're talking about the United States
We're never
of America.
talking about anything with you.
We're always talking about the United States. It seems like every time I have a point about the U.S., you want to go and move to another continent.
No, because oh man, you are not living in reality.
A laugh indicates he was feeling cocky, or was very nervous and intimidated. Another source of controversy came late last year, when Playtonic announced the Wii U version was cancelled, and said, wait until Nintendo's Switch presentation early next year to learn about your options. Playtonic then waited about a week after the presentation to say any more, and remained vague on a lot of the details. Instead of having the default choice for Wii U backers be a move to the Switch, they had it default to PC instead, and they refused to allow PC backers to change platforms. They also refused to confirm the game would fulfill its simultaneous launch stretch goal, all of these being somewhat controversial. Back to John, a few days ago a radical pocket formed on NeoGAF, a site many consider to be one of the most cancerous parts of the internet, launched a very small witch hunt against John to Playtonic. Playtonic quickly released a statement to a third party that they had decided they would remove John's role in the game, via a presumable Day 1 patch. A small group of John's fans, those who felt it was a political statement for a project they funded, and those who felt uneasy about our backers' pledge reward being pulled, took to the Playtonic forums and the Steam page to express their disapproval. Playtonic and Team 17 promptly began banning and locking any questioning of their decision, and some representatives of the company took to Twitter to mock and further antagonize these backers. This led to even more outrage over how Playtonic was treating those who financed Yooka-Laylee. Later, mainstream media began reporting that everyone with objections was solely upset because JonTron was being removed, and marginalizing the opposition to Playtonic's actions. Okay, that was kind of objective, right? Definitely more than Crave, who put their opinion right into the article after generalizing and flirting with strawmanning the opposition. I do want to go to full opinion now, though. If you just wanted the context of the controversy, you can leave. But if you want to hear my perspective, this is no longer objective at all. If you already have an opinion and are scared of a potentially different opinion, you probably want to leave. If you are open-minded, I'd like to have a respectful discussion with you. First though, I'm not a JonTron fan, and never have been. I know who he is and I've watched some of his videos, but I don't subscribe or watch a lot of his videos. I've never had a problem with him in the past, and I don't agree with the racist ideas he's communicated in his debate. I'm also inclined to think he doesn't actually believe the things he said. To me, that seemed very much a nervous laugh. But nobody can say for sure, and it does not excuse what he said. I wouldn't have had any issue if Playtonic didn't maintain a business relationship going forward. But given that the game releases 2 months after his statements, and he recorded his voice years before, there was no reason to do anything besides making a political statement. Any rational, reasonable person who recognized him would not come to the conclusion Playtonic agreed with his recently public views. they would understand he recorded his part long before making any offensive statements. I do find it very troubling they decided to have their company take a political position using a project made possible by over 70,000 individuals with their own feelings. Playtonic is using their backers' money to support and make a stand not all of their backers agree with. If I was a millionaire and somebody pitched an idea to me and I invested in them, and then at some point they used their official account to condone pedophilia, I would want to pull my funding because my money would be condoning pedophilia, which was not something I agreed to fund. If, say, a pedophilia activism group endorsed them, I would not have a problem. And as a quick note, this is not equivalent to them distancing themselves from John, because they didn't pay him. He paid them, and it was a business relationship. If I was doing a video collaboration with somebody, and while a video was in editing they endorsed pedophilia, I would complete the collaboration and not collaborate on anything going forward. This is kind of the thing about Kickstarter. It is kind of a business relationship and investing at the same time. You can think of it like pre-ordering a service, or like you were investing in somebody. If you try to make it both, it gets messy, but it kind of is both. You are paying for a service in exchange for giving them money, or you are being given an explicitly defined gift in exchange for investing, or both. You are being offered a service or good in exchange for investing. If you insist it is a business relationship, they can't take back or cancel a service somebody paid for, and pre-orders can be canceled at any time for any reason, prior to release day. If you insist it is strictly investing, they need to be very careful about breaking promises and what they do with their investors' money, or else be subjected to the disapproval of their investors and requests to have their lent money paid back, since no equity is involved. If it is a mix, then it becomes a somewhat subjective mess of what is business and what is investing. In Playtonic's case, their actions reflect it as more of an investing situation to them. I also deeply oppose how they have treated backers by trying to silence any dissenting opinions. They are trying to censor those who supported them and gave them money. It shows how much they value our money and our support. If we disagree with anything they do, they are just going to say, "Shut up, we know better." I can't condone censorship. It directly clashes with my political and philosophical beliefs. And from the inside looking out, it is clear the media is out for all gamers and YouTubers, and we need to call them out when they deliberately peddle false narratives and strawman situations, not with violence or hatred, but with a refusal to let them misrepresent facts. Saying or implying by doing nothing Playtonic would be endorsing his racist statements. Everyone who has a problem with Playtonic does not automatically agree with John's statements, and it is not an open and shut matter because of John's racist statements. It is not about agreeing with them or not. It is about how Playtonic has run their campaign over the last few months. If doing nothing meant Playtonic was racist, I suppose anybody who had anything to do with Amy Schumer around the time she admitted to raping an extremely drunk man condones rape if they didn't scrub anything to do with her. And anyone who has cast Wesley Snipes after 2005 supports tax evasion. Are you a fellow backer, and what do you think about this situation? I'm really curious to try to have a mature discussion that's not quite pitchfork, burn down England, cancel the game, assassinate Kirkhope.